I'm Ray with PhoneArena, and this is our comparison of the biggest trendsetters at MWC 2016, the Samsung Galaxy S7, the LG G5 and the Sony Xperia X Performance. At this point, all three phones look pretty decent, neither appears cheap or off-putting. The LG G5 is probably the most uninteresting of the three. It has a new metal body and modular design, but aesthetically it's pretty much nothing to write home about. Meanwhile, the Samsung Galaxy S7 is a nice facelift of the S6, but the improvements there have more to do with ergonomics than aesthetics. The weak point in Samsung's design is that the mirror-like finish attracts a ton of fingerprints, like as soon as you pick up the phone. Obviously, this problem doesn't exist with the G5's metallic surface. Sony's Xperia X Performance has its own style. It sticks with Sony's classy rectangular design, but instead of glass, it has metal on the back. The ergonomic properties of Sony's product are quite good, as it's comfortable to hold and use. It's also worth pointing out that both the X Performance and the S7 are water resistant, while the G5 isn't. LG has decided to scale things down a little, swapping its previous size of choice for a 5.3-inch LCD panel this time. Still, the G5 is markedly bigger than the S7 and the X Performance, whose screens measure 5.1 inches and 5 inches respectively. Functionally, the Samsung brings quite a lot to the table. If it's ultimate customizability and versatility you're after, the Galaxy S7 is probably the way to go. However, having loads of added functionality often leads to messier and clumsier UI, and that's exactly the case here. The G5, for example, being streamlined and all, feels noticeably lighter and snappier. The Xperia X Performance is also quite fast, but probably not as instantaneous as the LG. The G5 and S7 do have one advantageous new feature, and that's always on display. Snapdragon 820 will obviously be the name of the silicon game in 2016, as all three flagships come with Qualcomm's latest and greatest chip. Powered by Android 6, all three phones feel fast and responsive. The Samsung tends to be a bit jerkier than the other two, and if there's one of whose long-term performance we feel a bit unsure about, it's the S7. The other two demonstrate fluid and constant motion, but again, these are only early impressions we're dealing with. Each brand has thought up something intriguing to spice up its camera department. In Samsung's case, it's the new 12-megapixel shooter, which has lower resolution than their previous one, but with larger pixels, wider aperture and advanced autofocus technology. LG has gone down the dual camera way, adding a second rear camera with a wider field of view. Finally, Sony has refashioned its 23-megapixel camera with a new predictive autofocus system for faster and more reliable focus of moving objects. We expect both the LG and the Samsung to take beautiful and realistic photos, while Sony has historically been a bit hit or miss. So it would be interesting to see how things have progressed with the Xperia X. Overall, Samsung and LG have historically been pretty much neck and neck with their overall packages, with Sony trailing just slightly behind. This year, however, Sony's proposition has turned out surprisingly good, making for an even more heated competition than usual.